The views and opinions expressed on any program are those of the producers and/or the persons appearing on the program, and do not necessarily reflect the views and opinions of FRC Media, Bristol Community College, or the City of Fall River.
Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
I'm CJ.
And I got a head cold. So
Yeah, well,
if I sound different, don't call. And
we're all getting it seems. But I'll tell you right now, I was nauseated again. You know, city government never ceases to amaze me. A simple request was made last night at the public safety meeting of the city administration and Ms. Ferreira of traffic in regards to an insurance reimbursement on a light that had been damaged, I guess, by a motor vehicle or in some other format. And they don't know. We have an account with approximately $15,000 that has been paid into it last year, but we can't tell you where it came from. When have we heard this number this before, Chip?
well, I mean, this again. They always find the money, they just don't know where it comes from. So this is why we need a full and independent forensic audit, because obviously to make that statement in public,
on the record,
is only in Fall River would anybody know, because there's not anybody on a financial team, I don't think any other place on the planet, that would actually go and say that in public on camera for the record that they have no idea where money comes from. Well, it just goes to show that things haven't changed much from 1991 when we filed that grievance on the health care, and Ernst & Young sent down one of their top accountants, a man who had done the entire state of Tennessee and done $1 trillion audit. And I'll never forget that. I said it a while back on a show. I said I'll never forget it. We met with him after he went to City Hall to get the records. He went for the records of spending, etc. And he looked at me and he said, "I have never seen a city in my career as screwed up as this one." He said, "I asked if they had on a computer any record, and the then personnel director, Sharon Skeels, pointed to a bunch of file cabinets against the wall, and she said, 'No, they're all in there. They're not sorted.' She said, 'You're going to have to take everything out of the drawers and sit on the floor and go through all the papers.'"
Just what I want to do.
This is the way we run a city. This is the way we run, as they continue to remind us, an over $250 million organization. I'm sorry. This is one of the problems. We've got a bunch of incompetents running the city, and who gets hurt by their incompetence? We do, because they never run out of money. They just keep raising fees and taxes and giving out more parking tickets and speeding tickets and figuring out a way to take more money out of the pockets of the people, and then wonder why they can't afford to go out and support businesses. It's to the point now that maybe it's the head cold, but I mean, I'm just, it's gotten to the point where, look, there's no way around this. We've got to either have a forensic audit, or we've got to go into receivership where somebody who has absolutely nothing to do with this city comes in and looks at every number. And by the way, while we're on the subject, for Kathy Ann Viveras to say that Alan Silva doesn't know anything is ridiculous. He forgot more about figures and shit. He's a Harvard MBA. He's been doing this all over the country. Did it in Florida. He was called back because of his expertise, and then because they didn't like what he said, because he gave them an accurate picture, they said, "Okay, go back to Florida. We're going to ignore everything you said." That's the problem we have in Fall River. We don't have a government that's effective, efficient, and cares one iota about the public. That's the way it is.
Let's be real. The reason they asked Alan to leave is because he wasn't Milton Friedman. Oh, excuse me. They would have thrown Milton Friedman out too. He wasn't Kensington.
That's right.
So, I mean, you have to admit, it gets to be funny. Now, last week, the Department of Transportation with the governor announced 100% reimbursement on road repairs. Now, amazingly enough, as soon as I received that, I sent that over to the mayor's office and to his special assistant, Faust Fiore. And I put on that email, I said, this is from the governor and the Department of Transportation, FYI. They have to register for the program. To date, I haven't seen the registration from Fall River. Now, this is going to be limited probably to a number of cities and towns that register on a first-come, first-served basis. So, and I have the website in front of me here, and it's 100% because the governor believes that a complete street is one you can drive on, when you can walk across. Imagine that, okay? And it just makes me laugh. And another quick thing is, over this week, we've heard on other media sources that, it's the mayor's plan, and I haven't heard this directly from the mayor, nor have I seen it, but it's the mayor's plan to do away with the trash fee. He's said nothing about the purple bag fee, but when you looked at how that was budgeted last year by the previous administration and by 6 of the 9 city councilors, they approved that sanitation fee. And that's approximately $3.8 million. Now, they're already looking at, from what I understand, a $6 million shortfall in next year's budget. Potentially 6. Okay? Could be as high as 15. Now, if you're looking at it between a $6 and $15 million shortfall, and you're going to take $3.8 million in revenue out, where are you going to get this money?
Magic money.
Again, magic money.
It appears, CJ. Didn't we get 15,000? We don't know where it came from.
We have no idea where it came from.
We might have 6 or 7 million fall out of the sky again.
Yeah.
That's the way the city runs.
Or maybe they're just going to...
Well, we found money to give everybody a $7,500 pay raise, and then, even though the salary in the budget was $70,000 for Lou Pacheco, the mayor says he can go higher. Yeah, you're right. He may be able to go higher because the ordinance did stipulate a salary that was higher than Lou Pacheco was getting, because Lou Pacheco couldn't get that salary because it would affect his pension benefits. But the thing was, in last year's budget, it was only appropriated for $70,000. So if we paid a guy $78,000, where are we going to find the other $8,000? That means that somewhere in the budget, they're picking another $88,000 or $8,500 out of the budget to give to him.
And also remember,
where did that come from? Yeah. I want to know where we're getting it, because the fact is that position may have been an ordinance for 85, for 78, or whatever.
It's 78.
78. All right, 78. But Lou Pacheco's salary is only budgeted for $70,000. So you're not going to tell me that $8,000 wasn't absorbed somewhere else in the budget, because
of course it was.
We don't have 2 nickels to rub together. It's not like we got extra cash. So now somebody somewhere is going to suffer. They're going to take money from somewhere.
Well,
and this is the problem.
But also remember, they hired a new corporate counsel.
That's right.
They hired a woman for $46,000 a year, and that money wasn't budgeted. It's in ordinance, but they didn't budget it. And the mayor and corporate counsel Joe Macy were told, yeah, you can hire it, the position's there, but we can't pay it. We don't have the money in the budget.
Sounds like a complaint to me, because the DOR, we submitted a budget.
Right.
And that budget didn't have those positions in, so technically we're deficit spending.
Yeah, but as DOR, the DOR, basically DLR for this section, has said, if you don't like it, file a lawsuit. They don't work. Let's be real. They don't work. The Massachusetts Department of Revenue is exactly what they stand for. The Massachusetts Department of Rip-Off Artists. We're ripping off our paychecks, we're ripping off our pensions, and we don't care what the people have to say. Oh, and make sure you pay our taxes.
Political appointees overseeing politicians, not a
Right.
good recipe for efficiency.
No, it's
and
not.
That's the problem. But technically, that complaint should be filed, and when they ignore it and tell you that, it should be made to the public. And they're known to the public because technically, I don't, even though we do it in Fall River all the time, the only governmental agency that can deficit spend is the federal government.
That's right.
They print their own money. No state or city or town has the ability to deficit spend. We do. And we're deficit spending right now because that position, if it wasn't budgeted, again, that $46,000 or whatever the position was budgeted for, it was applied somewhere else in the budget. Again, we get back to the old song. Full forensic audit. This is the problem. They play Chinese checkers with numbers so much intentionally you can't follow it. And then when you pin them in a corner, they tell you, oh, I don't know where it came from. It's magic money. So, really, is this the way to run a $250 million corporation? And as Genghis Khan said, it's better to have an army of donkeys led by a lion than an army of lions led by a donkey. We got a bunch of donkeys running this army. And
including their leaders.
And we wonder why, we can't get our fiscal house in order. Because now we've got the new president of the city council, Mr. I Love to Bond, saying we're in great financial shape. And how can you be in great financial shape if you look at it as $6 to $15 million deficit? That is the same guy, by the way, who about 3.5 years ago said in Boston, with Linda Pereira sitting in the room, as I was, on another, that the city was $500 million. That was the debt, $500 million. So I'm sure it's more now, because we've just rolled more short-term debt into long-term debt. So, we're, they're gonna, slogans and little catchphrases like "Let's move Fall River forward" don't help. You got to keep track of your money. If you got a budget and you don't stay within it, guess what? You can't go to the supermarket and tell them at the supermarket, hey, you know something? I spent too much money somewhere else and I'm out of money, so you got to give me my groceries. They're going to tell you? See you later.
Well, we've just gotten to the point where we're already feeling as though we're banging our head against the wall, and it scares me that the magnanimous nine, okay, have firmly taken on the silk robes and crowns of the elected, monarchy, and have stepped into the roles knowing that I don't care, it's not my money. And that's really sad. But on to another issue, which is right on the top of your papers today. And I'm actually going to bring it up on screen. Please, if you are not comfortable with this commentary, I'm sorry. This came from a gentleman by the name of Mark A. Carron. Mr. Carron is a firefighter in the city of Weymouth. And he made this comment on his personal Facebook page. And he was vilified for it. And they suspended him for 90 days. Now, the union sent out this letter. And basically they said that, it's a disappointing comment, do not reflect the Weymouth Firefighters Local 1616. Our members report to work every day, and we are unwavering in our commitment to protect the citizens of the town of Weymouth. And that's fine. Okay, but the union's requirement, and correct me, Chip, if I'm wrong, because you know better than anyone else, the union's requirement under 158 is to defend this guy.
Yeah.
150E, excuse me.
Yeah, 150E. The duty to represent is basically the primary duty of a union. And, you know, I don't know what they're protecting him from, because what he did, and whether you agree, let me preface this. The union has every right to say that his opinion isn't the opinion. They had the right to say that his comments were disappointing and do not reflect their opinion, which is fine. This is America. But that's the problem. You have a constitutional right to freedom of speech. He didn't, you know, he did not say that while he held that opinion that he was not going to perform his duties and administer it. He wasn't, it was on a personal page. And I don't even believe that the fire department had any right to suspend them, because it's a constitutional right. And whether you agree or disagree with that position, you know, it's a personal opinion. As long as you provide the service you're being paid to do. The union, if I was him, I'd sue the union, because they have an obligation to try to fight that suspension, because that he has a right. And you and I had a discussion, you know, last night about this, and as I said, this is America. And unfortunately, or fortunately, whatever perspective you have, we have a right to have an opinion, regardless of how reprehensible it is to others. As a matter of fact, I think the thing that defines America and what America should stand for, with great clarity, was the time that the American Civil Liberties Union had Jewish lawyers defending the American Nazi Party's right to vilify the Jews and have a demonstration. Even though they disagreed vehemently with that position, they understood the right of those individuals to have an opinion. We have freedom of speech in this country. And if you want to vilify this guy on Facebook or give him kudos because you agree with that position, that's your right as an American. However, his employer, you know, this political correctness has gone way too far. They're suspending this man and violating his constitutional right to freedom of speech for political correctness. That's bull.
And you know, Chip,
I may not like welfare, although I think it's a necessary, you know, any society has a moral obligation. But my personal opinion is nobody should be on welfare unless they're physically or psychologically unable to work. And if they're able to work, they should be put to work for 40 hours a week doing something before they ever get a dime.
yeah,
That's my opinion. That's my opinion. But as a firefighter, we don't check whether the person's on welfare, what their race, religion, or creed is. We went in and we protected lives and property. That was our duty. That was our job, and we did it. Personal opinions aside about politics and political positions. This individual, you know, he cited his personal opinion. And I'll tell you something. Because of political correctness, probably the people who agreed with him, and I would say there were probably quite a few people that agreed with him, are probably afraid to make an opinion, because this is what the society's been relegated to. You don't have the courage to give an opinion if it's something that's not politically acceptable, you know. So, you know, to me, that doesn't enhance America. That doesn't help America be really America. What America was created for was to be able to have diversity in opinion, too. Not just in color, in race, in creed, but diversity in opinion. It was created by people who were discriminated against because of their religious beliefs. They came to America in order to be able to practice their religion and have an opinion that wasn't the majority opinion, and be able to live in a nation that allowed that. And that's what this country is all about. This, to me, is, I'm not going to, that's his personal opinion. Whether I agree or disagree is irrelevant. But I'm going to say shame on the Weymouth Fire Union. Shame on them. They should have said they disagreed, but they should have also said that this man has a right to a personal opinion, because you're supposed to be a union, not a political organization. And unions protect people's rights. And he has not only a right as an individual, he has a constitutional right to have that opinion.
You know, Chip, and I'm going to bring this guy's statement up one more time, because nowhere on this statement does he say, I'm not going to administer Narcan. Nowhere does he say, I'm not going to treat an opiate patient, okay? Nowhere. He's just saying this is his opinion. He gets no extra money for giving Narcan, and he's right. Most of these people do go back out, and they do indeed use again right after, or worse, they assault the EMT, the paramedic, the firefighter, the police officer after the administration of Narcan. And this is why people who are in the public safety field, people who are in the medical field, don't even want to deal with it anymore. Do you know how many complaints were filed against me because I said on this show that if they want to die, let them die? Just put a message across your forehead, no Narcan, so we don't have to waste our time. Let Darwinism take its course. I'm not acting under my license. I'm not acting in my professional capacity, nor did I say I won't treat them. I'm just saying, if that's what you want, let us know. And that's my First Amendment right. I can say that. Okay?
Well, not if you're in the Weymouth Fire Union.
Yeah, obviously not.
Not if you're in the Weymouth Fire Union, you can't say that, because they'll allow you to get suspended and not fight for your right. Because, as I said, it's not about whether he's right or wrong.
That's right.
It's about his right to have a differing opinion. Mm-hmm. And I've heard this from public safety people in this area. And I know a lot of them. I was, that was basically my career for my entire adult life, for the most part. And I have heard from friends of mine that they've had actually basically been attacked almost after they gave this stuff, because they were upset because they ruined their high. And it was like, they just, they brought them down from the high, and the fact that they saved their life was irrelevant, that they were upset. So, look, this guy, you may not agree, and you may not agree with his characterization of what they are. But the fact is, he had a right to say it. And he didn't, as you said, I'm looking at it right now, it said, I, for one, get no money for giving Narcan. And, which means he does, and he has. And
correct.
He didn't say he was going to stop. He just said that I think it's a waste, and that's his personal opinion. He has a right to do it.
And just look at what the president just did, $1.1 billion.
That's right.
$1.1 billion. You know what? This is something we cannot afford. We as a community, we as citizens, we as a state, we as a country cannot afford this. Okay? The drug war has been crazy. Okay? Because it's never been effective. That's the first thing. So, enough of that, because I'm already starting to get my dander up, and I'm about ready to climb off a table somewhere.
No, but this is an important issue.
It's an important issue from a First Amendment point.
It's about what this country's about. We talk about government not representing the people. I mean, this is actually this is where government agencies actually infringe on the personal rights under the Constitution of people. And for what? For political correctness? And it's like, look, you can have whatever opinion you want. The fact is that, again, we have a situation where, like, the individual's rights is secondary to political correctness. And it's like I said, as far as I'm concerned, whether I agree or disagree is irrelevant. I don't care. You can have an opinion. I don't agree with the American Nazi Party, but they have a right to say what they say. If they act out on any of those threats that they make, well, now they're going to. But do they have a right? Well, unfortunately, this is This is what men and women put uniforms on and died for. The right to be able to have an opinion. This is not Russia. This isn't Czechoslovakia where they ran them over with tanks when they tried to peacefully demonstrate, and they laid in front of the tanks. And what did the Russian tanks do? They ran them over.
It's not Tiananmen Square either.
Yeah, and it's not Tiananmen Square. That's right. We can go through history and find these things. In many countries in this world, if you demonstrate against the government, you're either imprisoned,
or dead,
or killed. And the fact is that this is what, as much as we complain and we point out and try to educate people, this is why we should control the government. The people should control the government. It shouldn't be public opinion and political correctness. The Constitution is the fundamental document. It's the heart and soul of this nation. And when this nation begins to remove constitutional rights from people for political correctness, this is wrong.
Well, you know, Chip, there's an old quote. I may not agree with your opinion, but I will defend to the death your right to express it.
That's right.
And you know what? That's the way I believe. And now let's get on to net school spending here in Fall River.
Oh, jeez.
Okay. The state has said we're still $1.5 million to meet net school spending for this year. We're not even going to talk about last year that they still haven't met yet. And the city is still arguing like $600,000 or $800,000. Well, guess what? They're already looking at the foundation budget for next year, which commences on July 1st, and they're looking at $133.3 million, is it? $133.2 million. 80% will be covered by the state. Okay? So when you're looking at these numbers, I mean, what are we going to look at here? Something like the fact that we have to have a $2.2 million carryover from this year into next year? Hold on a second. How are we doing this? I thought we didn't have to pay 1.5. Oh, guess why? We still got last year's money that we got to pay. So again, we're not paying our bills. We're doing what? We're creating short-term debt to roll it over into next year's budget.
Deferring everything as we do.
Yes.
And then we find money.
Right.
And it's like, oh, God, this, like I said, look, what do we get back to? What is this again? Again, we're fighting. Fall River always tells the state that everybody's wrong but Fall River.
Right. And you know, it's interesting.
That's why we have such a great economy in
Right.
Fall River, because we're always right and they're always wrong.
And they keep bringing this back to the state every year, and the state keeps giving them the exact same decision every year. They keep saying, no, this is going to be covered, and they say, no, that doesn't meet net school spending requirements. And according to Melissa Panchley, former chairman of the Finance Committee, it should be $885,000. Are you serious? The state's already told you it's 1.5. The state's not going to change that for you. You can negotiate all you want. You're not going to negotiate anyway. Okay? So you're at $2.2 million from last year and this year that you haven't met. Okay? Maybe you should realize that once you hit that dollar figure amount, you're going to, and once you hit 5%, you're dead in the water. Because guess what they take away? They take away your Chapter 70 money, which means that we have to come up with more money. And we can't afford to pay the net school spending now. We're $2.2 million short. But you'll go over again and hit that 5% margin, and you say, oh, they're taking away Chapter 70 money. Well, guess what? It's your fault. It's the school committee's fault. It's the city council's fault. It's the mayor's fault.
And it's a financial team. Again, how many years are we going to have the financial team? And they have an entire budget. They have their own treasurer in the school department. They have all these jobs, all this money tied up. And we've got two, not one, but two financial teams in the city of Fall River. And between the two of them, they can't agree. So how are we going to actually agree with the state? The fact is, look, this city is an economic shambles, and that's why we should all stay angry and hold their feet to the fire.
You think? I think.
I apologize for
Hey, thanks for watching.
sounding like Froggy the Gremlins.
No, thanks for watching. Have a great week. We'll see you Friday.